Alrighty, good morning guys. Now, don't mind me, I'm talking funny because I've got a bunch of pills in my mouth and I'm about to wash them down with this yummy beverage. So, it is just gone 1 a.m. I have brushed my teeth, done my shots, and I am just swallowing all of my pills right now with my yummy monster. And I'm now going to lay back down, probably nap for another 20 to 30 minutes, and then get up, do the usual routine. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because lately I've just been waking up a little bit early, and I figure instead of like taking all my fat burners and whatnot, and then like having to sort of just fuck around the house for, an hour, I can sort of get up, go to the bathroom, get my weight, take all my pills, do all my shots, and then I can go back to sleep. And then that way, when I wake up, I'm almost ready to go. So this morning was the usual MOTC, SS31, NAD, and Samax. That was the shot part of things. Obviously, oils as well, testosterone, masterone, and some trenbolone. And then our pills are SLU, 5-amino, cardarine, mirabegron, yohimbine, and albuterol. Oh, and another shot is injectable carnitine. So all that has gone down. I'm going to drink this and then we will wake back up and do the normal routine. So also it is March 12th, which is a Thursday. Today is leg day and it's going to be a good one as usual. So anyways, I'll probably see you all in the kitchen. Good morning number 2. We fell back asleep for 30 minutes, just like I had planned. So more delicious caffeinated beverage. And let's get our ass moving. All right, we are just about ready to jump onto cardio. So now we are just going to choose a flavor of pouch to nicotine ourselves up. And I am thinking that this morning we shall try, let's go lemon spritz. That sounds all right. This one is, how many milligram we got? Looks like this is a 6 milligram. So let's give that one a shot. Now this will be interesting to see if I can open the bloody thing. Open it the savage way. Puh. Oh. All right, we got it. Smell test. Smells like a weird lemonade. Double park. All right. 12 migs straight to the dome. We've got our hydration. Let's get our ass on the stairs. Oh, alrighty guys. We've got about 3 minutes left on stairs, and then we're gonna hit the streets for some steps. Now, update for you all. We are 31 days out from the first show, and I'm fucking amped. I'm so amped because my training performance has been stellar all the way up until, well, now, and it shouldn't go backwards, which means that I've definitely held on to and potentially even gained tissue this prep. So we've woken up this morning at 104.4 kilos, which is up 300 grams from yesterday. So leg day today, another high day, 900 grams of carbs going in. Easy work. My body's just a furnace at this point, so that is light work. We are also going to make sure that we get some deep tissue work, likely tomorrow, just to really make sure everything's feeling good in these last few weeks of prep. I also need to pay for registration and tanning and all that, which I always leave for the last minute. So sleep-wise last night, we slept well. We slept from pretty much 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock, and then that extra half an hour that you saw, so about 4.5 hours. And we'll definitely get a couple more naps in this morning between blocks of work. So, plan of attack for the day. Take you all along with me for legs. And I also have some questions from the Instagram that I will answer on my walk shortly. So, let's finish off this last minute of stairs, then hit the streets and answer some questions that some of you fine people have messaged in. Oh, and another one. Last night I hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. So, yay me. Does that make me famous yet? All right, wrapping this up, 10 seconds to go. Let's get it. Rightio, here we are out on the streets as promised. As usual, Groundhog Day. You guys know what it is. You're watching the life of Ash Lachlan, and it doesn't change. You want to know why it doesn't change? Because as I have said, repetition and doing the same shit every day and living Groundhog Day and doing it over and over and over and over until you fucking perfect every second of the day is how you become magnificent at shit. and I am going to be fucking magnificent at what I do in all aspects of life, whether that be my own training, my own schedule, my own routine, my own bodybuilding, my client work, everything. I aim to be the best coach in Australia. That is my goal. I also aim to have the best physique I possibly can. Whether or not that beats other physiques or not, I don't care, because my goal is to live a pro lifestyle, have a pro physique, and it doesn't matter whether I have a card or not alongside that to show for it. So anyways, Instagram Q&A. You guys had questions. I'm going to answer them, and that's just my opinion, by the way, as a disclaimer. So anything that I say is purely in the mind of Ash Lachlan. It is not the opinion of others, and it does not reflect the actual scenario that may be happening in that situation. It is just what I am perceiving and my thoughts on it. Now, the first question that I have is, what is the benefit to things like yohimbine and carnitine? So you said things like. Now, I'll just go with what you said then, yohimbine and carnitine as two examples, and I'll tell you what they do. And as far as the rest of the stuff, well, if anyone wants to know what they do, they can message in specifically about that. So yohimbine is actually a chemical that comes from the bark of a tree, believe it or not. So it's extracted from this bark and it is synthesized into a supplement. Now, yohimbine is actually banned in Australia and many other countries for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's so fucking benign. I guess because somewhere along the line somebody took too much and had a reaction, and they went, oh, yeah, people can't have this because they're going to hurt themselves. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? That's the Darwin effect for you. And I believe that if people are dumb enough to hurt themselves with very basic chemicals that are very easy to manage and dose, then fuck, man. Like, where do you draw the line in just letting people be stupid? They let people have cigarettes and alcohol, but they won't let them have yohimbine. So anyways, yohimbine works in a fasted state only. Okay, you have to have low blood insulin for yohimbine to work, and the way that yohimbine works is that it actually blocks a receptor that limits the release of fatty acids. So whenever we're looking at chemicals, compounds, drugs, etc., that help fat loss, what we're usually doing is we're unlocking a bottleneck somewhere along the way. As you can imagine, there are rate limiting factors in everything that we do. There's rate limiting factors in muscle gain. There's rate limiting factors in fat loss. There's rate limiting factors in how quickly you can heal from injuries and all this kind of stuff. So yohimbine specifically, when taken in a fasted state, when insulin levels in the blood are low, blocks a receptor that limits the release of fatty acids. It's also believed that yohimbine can target stubborn body fat. So body fat around like love handles and, arse, thighs, things like that. As far as whether that's true or not, I'm not 100% sure, but I can't really speak on anecdote either, because I generally don't hold fat anywhere, especially not at the moment. So the reason why I take it is because I will always look for any 1% that I can get. So yohimbine comes along, blocks the receptor, which means that essentially while you're doing your activity fasted, there will be less of a bottleneck in terms of the alpha receptor that would normally limit the amount of fatty acids that can be released into the bloodstream. Now, this is especially important when combined with growth hormone, because growth hormone, and this will tie into another question, growth hormone taken before bed. When you take growth hormone before bed, it will overnight cause a cascade of effects where your blood glucose and your blood fatty acid levels will rise overnight while you sleep. So when you wake up, you've essentially got all this glucose and glycerol. The glycerol backbone detaches from the triglyceride, and then that is now floating around in the bloodstream, ready to be burned, which is why when I answer the other question about growth hormone, this will all make sense. Now, moving on to carnitine. So carnitine is obviously also available in a oral formulation. Now, the reason why the oral formulation is generally no good is because it's usually only about 5 to 10% bioavailable when taken orally. And if you take enough to the point that would actually have effects on lipolysis, then what happens is your body will convert some of it into what's called TMAO. Now, TMAO is short for some long ass fucking word, but essentially TMAO has been linked to cancer. So that is why we don't want to take high doses of L-carnitine orally. So when we take it injectable, we not only get 95 to 100% of that drug in our system because it is highly bioavailable when in the injectable form, we also skip the conversion to TMAO. So what carnitine does is carnitine actually will help shuttle the fat in your blood into the mitochondria to be burned off as energy. So you can see here the synergism that is going on. You've got growth hormone releasing fatty acids overnight. You've got the yohimbine, which is reducing the rate limiting factor of the fat that is released. And then you've got carnitine that is then grabbing that fat and shoving it into the mitochondria to be burned. So that is how yohimbine and carnitine work. So that answers that question. I will now have a look what the next question is. All right, this next question I'm going to answer because it relates to the first one. And that question is, why take GH before bed and not in the morning? All right, so the old school method used to be, and the thought process used to be that if you took growth hormone in the morning before fasted cardio, then it would help you burn more fat. Now, the flaw to that is that when you inject growth hormone, it actually takes hours for growth hormone to enter your system, to do all the things that it needs to do to then release fatty acids and glucose into the bloodstream. So by taking it before bed, you allow all those processes to happen overnight. So when you then wake up in the morning fasted, you essentially have all that glucose and fatty acids ready to go in the bloodstream to be burnt off and utilized for energy. So the reason why we take it before bed, like I said, is to give it time to work, basically. So by taking it before bed, also, it limits how much you can fuck that process up. Simply by taking the growth hormone before bed, you are, not eating overnight, which means that the growth hormone can work in a low insulin state, which means that it is then going to dump all of that fuel into the bloodstream ready for you to burn in the morning. And that is why, when I said before about the yohimbine and the carnitine, that the growth hormone before bed is synergistic with them and why you would want to take it before bed. It's pretty much the ultimate time to take it because, like I said, you're taking it in a position where you can't fuck it up. So, you're going straight to bed resting, which also means that any benefit that it has on recovery is going to be amplified because you're laying in bed doing nothing. And then secondly, like I said, gives it time to work. So that is the answer to why we would take it before bed and not in the morning. So let's do another one. All right, next question is tips for bringing up a body part. Now, if you guys have been following me, you know that my main focus is generally arms. So you'll see that I actually start my upper body day and my push and my pull session with arms. So my upper day starts with biceps and triceps, my pull day starts with biceps, my push day starts with triceps. Now, the reason that we do this is because it allows us to hit a muscle while we have the most energy. And by doing so, it means it means a few things. It means one, that muscle will get the most attention. You'll also be able to apply the most effort and intensity to that exercise because it is the first one of the day. And it also means that when it does come time to training that muscle, you're not just tossing it in at the end. Like, for the reason why I am now focusing on bringing up arms and doing them first is because my years of powerlifting meant that generally I was always focused on the main compound lifts, so benching, squatting, deadlifting. So arms were always just, I wouldn't say an afterthought, but it's very hard to apply the same intensity to your biceps and your triceps after you've just fucking killed yourself bench pressing or, you know, whatever it may be. So the tip for bringing up a body part is to train it first on the day that that group of muscles is being worked. So let's say, for example, you want to bring up your side delts. I would say to make them your first movement on your push day or your pull day. Hell, you can even put them at the start of a leg day if you really want to. Same with your biceps and triceps. You can put them at the start of a leg day if you want, or just put them at the start of your push or pull day, or put them at the start of your upper day, etc., etc. So that applies to pretty much anything. You know, another example might be you want to bring up your hamstrings. Okay, on leg day, train them first. You know, get your ass on the seated or lying hamstring curl and have them as your first movement, and treat them like any other movement that you are wanting to get better at. So that means tracking your progress on them, applying progressive overload, and seeing the performance of that climb over days, months, weeks, years, etc., etc. I can attest to this working for sure because I have put my arms first in all my upper and push and pull sessions for the past 24 months, and my arms have grown substantially, as you guys could probably all see if you were to look at me when I was powerlifting versus when I am solely bodybuilding right now. So main takeaway points to bring up a body part: put them first in the session, treat them like any other big compound lift, apply progressive overload, and don't just think of them as an afterthought. You want a muscle to grow, you got to train it fucking hard, you got to train it with intent, and you have to make sure that over time performance in the exercises that you are using is increasing, which is actually another really good point, is choose exercises that you get a good connection with. Now, something like biceps or triceps are quite simple because, well, they only cross one joint. So, well, technically the bicep crosses two, but that means, you know, extending and curling the arm, pretty basic movements. So you basically need to choose a cable or a dumbbell. I personally do really well with cables for my arms, so I choose to use cables. And I also want to mention that doing these movements single arm can have massive benefit because, one, it will generally allow higher motor unit thresholds to be activated, because when you do something one side at a time, your perceived level of exertion and effort is lower, which means that you essentially can go harder. When you train one arm, it's a lot less taxing than training both at the same time, so you can take that set a little bit further. So that answers that question right there, how to prioritize and bring up a body part. All right, we've just got home now, so it is time to prepare meal one and do our abs and all that business. So I'll see you in the next clip, whatever that may be. Alrighty, we are now back in the kitchen to prepare meal number one. And while I do so, I'll answer another question or two. So that question is, you mentioned bodybuilding as a single male. Could you go into this further? So this is from a question last night, and obviously someone wants me to expand on it. I'm not quite sure exactly what this person is trying to ask. I mean, I suppose he could mean, like, is it easier or something like that? So I guess to answer that question, guys, I don't think that bodybuilding as a single man is necessarily quote unquote easier. I think it just comes down to who is your partner? Does your values align, or do your values align with your partner when it comes to your goals around bodybuilding. So if you were to ask me, is bodybuilding easier as a single male? I wouldn't necessarily say yes, because I think if you have the right partner, it can actually make it easier, believe it or not. If you've got a partner that supports you and has the same goals as you, or hell, they don't even have to have the same goals as you necessarily. All they need to do is just have some understanding, and they also need to realize what that goal means to you and support you. So, for example, I am a single male and I do obviously bodybuild, and my thoughts on the is it easier part is not necessarily. If I had a partner, I would want them to be into the gym as well. And I think that if you find the right partner, it can actually make things easier. The reason why it can make things easier is because a relationship is about teamwork. If you've got somebody that has your back and, you know, supports everything that you do and whatnot, you can actually like create quite the team. You know, your partner might help you meal prep, or, you know, your partner might help you through tougher times when, you know, maybe you're prepping or something and shit gets a little bit hard. So yeah, I'm certainly not going to say that bodybuilding as a single male is easier. I think it just comes down to, like I said, does your partner support your goals? Does your partner enjoy doing it alongside with you? Does your partner understand what it is that you are actually trying to achieve? And if they do, I think that it can actually lead to the whole process being better. Because at the end of the day too, you need to remember that life isn't just bodybuilding. Like, yes, to me, bodybuilding is a huge part of my life, but that's not to say that I would rather do it alone necessarily. It's just that I haven't personally found the right person yet to do it with. As far as if that ever happens or not, I'm not too sure. I mean, I've been single for quite a long time, you know, a few years now. And it just simply comes down to the reason of that I am not willing to get into a relationship just for the fuck of it, okay? When I get into a relationship next, I want it to be with the right person, with somebody who understands what I do, with somebody who enjoys doing it and, you know, kicking goals with me in life. And yeah, is just all round supportive of what I do. And in return, obviously, you know, you would be supportive of their goals and all that kind of thing. So it's kind of a two-way street. You know, they talk about, oh, there needs to be compromise and whatnot in a relationship. And whilst I do believe that, I don't think that it should be hard. Like, if every day you're battling with your partner because your bodybuilding or whatever is taking a toll on your relationship, it's probably not gonna work really well. You know, I think that you probably should just have a partner from the start that, you know, shares your values and your beliefs. So yeah, as far as the question itself, bodybuilding as a single male, is it easier? Not necessarily. It just means that you probably need to make sure that you put a little bit more patience into who you choose to be your life partner, because that can definitely make or break you. So that is the answer to that question. Now, I'll answer one more while we get the pineapple ready, but we have just got our cream of rice covered in drip. What we have here is 50 grams of toffee cream of rice, 50 grams of, I believe it was Elevate chocolate cake cream of rice. So 100 grams total, 150 grams of blueberries. We then had 70 grams of the Rise Skippy whey protein as the drip. And we also have 20 grams of the Adonis cookie dough whey protein concentrate mixed into the core to make it a bit thicker and more of a cake. So that's going to go in the freezer now. And we're going to get the pineapple out of the fridge and get that one ready. Now, whilst we get that ready, the next question is there a reason that you do stairs at 2 a.m.? Now, the answer to that is because that is when I wake up. Now, as far as whether it's ideal or not necessarily. There's no special reason why I do it at that time. It's just that with prep and everything and the way that my brain is, I just struggle to sleep. So I think to myself, well, you know what? Instead of fighting it and stressing it over it and whatnot, why don't I just make it work? So I do. So I wake up, I take all my fat burners, etc. I get my cardio done at that time, and then I just nap again during the day. So the alternative for me would be laying in bed and tossing and turning until 4 or 5 a.m. and then I have to basically do it anyway. So I'm better off getting out of bed, getting it done, and then I can just nap later. So the end result is still that my cardio gets done. So I tick that box, and I'm not just wasting time laying in bed going, oh, well, you know, doing cardio at 2 a.m. is weird or whatever the fuck people might think. Instead, I just roll with the punches. I get up, I get it done, and if I can sleep again later during the day, I will. So yeah, there is no special reason why I do cardio at 2 a.m. other than the fact that I'm awake, I'm ready to go, and I might as well knock it the fuck out. So I hope that answers that question for you. So we've just got our pineapple into here, basic bitch spice. All right. And then into the freezer, this one goes. Nice and cold for when I finish up abs. Which is another question, actually. This wasn't a question on the Instagram Q&A box, but it's a question that I get sometimes. It's, why do you train abs every day? The simple reason is because I've said it many times before. My waist is one of the areas that I really need to be on top of. So to make sure that I'm on top of it, I train them daily, not super heavy, not super hard necessarily, but I train them more for control, which is why I'm doing things like vacuums and planks. And then when I'm doing crunches and things like that, I'm actually focusing a lot on my breathing and controlling my waist. Because on stage, you need to keep it tight, especially if you've got a large waist like me. During transitions or, you know, even when I'm just moving around on stage, I need to make sure that that motherfucker is sucked in, making sure it's tight. And that is only going to be possible if I've got good stamina and I actually have the condition to be able to hold it in for, you know, the 5 or 10 minutes that I'm on stage. So by training them daily, that allows me to keep them conditioned, keep my, I suppose, core control, trained. And I think that any less frequent than daily is going to be less optimal, quote unquote, for someone like myself who is trying to just train my brain to constantly keep it pulled in. Even during the day when I'm moving around, I'm constantly trying to keep my abs pulled in. So anyways, we have just finished making up meal number 1. So we are going to now go train abs, and then we will finish up by eating meal number 1. And then, yeah, we will go from there. So I'll see you all in the next clip. All right, guys, we've just got done training abs. Let's have a look. Oh, all right, let's eat. Here it is, guys. Finished product. Cream of rice, whey drip, berries, pineapple, 4 corn thins, banana, which somebody mentioned looked gross, but that's because that's been thawed and is obviously mushy as fuck. So it doesn't matter. It goes really well by the time you put it on the corn thins. So let us eat. Oh, and by the way, we will be consuming this with a metric fuck ton of honey. So let's go. Alrighty, we are just out getting some steps in before our pre-workout meal, and I figured now would be a good time to answer another question. And this one ties into the first couple from the morning. And this question is cardio better fasted? Now, I am a firm believer in fasted cardio. Whether or not you're taking anything that, I guess, helps the process along, like growth hormone or injectable carnitine or yohimbine, etc., I still think that cardio is best suited in a fasted state first thing in the morning. Now, here's a few reasons, and I'm going to go from the practicality side of things first and then move into the more anecdotal side of things. Firstly, on the practicality side of things, when you wake up and you do cardio first thing in the morning, it does a few things. One, it gets it fucking done, all right? Then you don't have any excuse for the rest of the day as to why you couldn't fit your cardio in. You've done it first thing in the morning, it's knocked out of the way, and it's fucking an afterthought. Secondly, the reason why I like fasted cardio is because mentally it sets you up for the day. It locks you the fuck in, it gets some momentum going for the day, and it also rewires your brain to learn delayed gratification. In a day and age where we can get everything that we want immediately, I think that it's good to practice waking up and doing some hard shit before you reward yourself with a meal. So by waking up and doing cardio, you are basically telling your body that, hey, we have to earn the right to have this first meal. And that's really good for, like I said, not only mindset and, you know, being locked in and building momentum for the day, but just brain chemicals and shit in general. Thirdly, I am a firm believer that by doing some cardio before any meal, but particularly your first meal, it makes you more sensitive to the carbohydrates of that meal. So when you exercise and you contract muscles, you get a systemic but also a localized effect in those muscle cells where they become more responsive to the uptake of glucose. So when you do cardio and you then eat your first meal, your body will have a higher chance of basically getting those carbohydrates and storing them as glycogen in the muscle tissue, as opposed to, you know, blood glucose rising and floating around, which is another point. Doing cardio fast in the morning will keep your blood sugars down because you're waking up and you're burning the sugar that is already in your blood in the morning. So that will drop it right down. Then when you eat your first meal, obviously you'll absorb that first meal much better and your blood glucose will remain better. Another point is that by doing your cardio fasted in the morning, I have seen generally that it will improve blood markers better than cardio done in a fed state. I believe this is just due to the fact that, once again, when you wake up and you're in a fasted state and your insulin levels are low, the fuel source that you're using for that cardio is going to be more biased towards like fatty acids. So if you can have your cardio bias fatty acids more so than energy from food, so glycogen, that means there's going to be less fatty acids floating around in your bloodstream, which means overall you're going to have less fat deposits in arteries, in wherever, you know. I mean, it only makes sense, right? Less fat in the body, less fat can get deposited, right? So now moving on to the more anecdotal side of things, I believe that people lose fat faster and better when they are doing it fasted as opposed to any other time of the day. right? I genuinely believe that even if you're not taking things like growth hormone or himbine or whatever, that you still burn more body fat by doing it fasted. I know they say there's all these studies saying it doesn't, this and that. I don't care. I'm going to die on the hill that I firmly believe that fasted cardio burns more adipose tissue than when in a fed state. Another point to make is that by doing it first thing in the morning, it can keep it away from training. Okay, most people don't usually train first thing in the morning. Some definitely do. So, obviously this doesn't apply to them, but most people are training, midday or in the afternoon. So by doing your cardio first up in the morning, it keeps it away from training, which is a good thing because you generally don't want your cardio to affect your weight training. So by having your cardio early in the morning, it means you can then get 2, 3, 4 meals in, and then you can go and train. As opposed to if you did your cardio, like say, 2 hours before you train, you're going to be a little bit more exhausted and have used a bit more resources prior to your weight training, which isn't ideal because obviously when you train with weights, you want all your energy and effort to be, put towards the lifting side of things, because that's what gives us the stimulus to change the way that our body looks. Now, lastly, when it comes to is cardio fasted better, I am also going to lastly say that I think that you get a better bang for your buck. Now, what I mean by that is when you do it fasted in the morning, I personally believe that you will get more benefits in terms of the health aspect side of things. So like, for example, your HDL, cholesterol, your blood markers of overall lipids will improve better if you're doing cardio fasted in the morning. So if you have hyperlipidemia or high cholesterol levels, things like that, I think that the fasted cardio will rectify that better than in a fasted state. So that's a lot to take in, I'm sure, but yeah, I hope that answers that question. So I am a firm believer that fasted cardio is the bee's knees and that it's better than doing it in a fed state. So that's another question from the Instagram. I am now going to finish up steps here, get inside, eat the pre-workout meal, and then we will keep the day rolling. And like I said earlier today, we got legs today, so we're going to fuck some shit up. I'll see you in the next clip. All right, back home now for the pre-workout meal. So nothing different, guys. We have got 500 grams of raw weight basa, 60 grams of raw weight rice. We've got 4 corn thins. This one's all fucked up, unfortunately. 1 banana that Jessica Kemp commented on that they look fucked. That, Jessica, is because they were frozen and I put them in boiling water. So they are not fucked, they are just mushy. And mushy bananas are okay with me. Then we have 150 grams of beetroot. We are going to top all of that with 100 grams of honey. We may have also administered the Novo Rapid. Shh. So yeah, it is time to eat. Now, before we eat, I'm going to answer the last question that I was given last night from the Q&A, and that is, do you think Martin Fitzwater can bounce back from his spiral? Now, my answer to that is yes, I think he can. Will he? I don't know. But what he needs to do is probably disappear for a good 6 to 12 months, go get some therapy, stay off social media, stop fucking digging himself a bigger hole. He also probably needs to make a public apology for the way that he has acted. He probably needs to apologize to Nick, apologize to the fans, apologize to the IFBB, and then he is going to have to spend some time just slogging it out, man. Like, probably spend some time with no sponsors, spend some time just, trying to do good things and act right. And I definitely do think that he's still young. Like, he's not even 30 yet, which is crazy. So I definitely think Martin can bounce back from all of this. Even though I do think he's a bit of a dick, I still wish him the best because clearly he is mentally unwell. But yeah, I definitely think he can bounce back. Just, I don't know, he needs to go find Jesus or some shit. All right, anyways, let's finish eating or start eating, and then we will move on to pre-workout pills and potions, and then legs. So let's do it. See you in the next clip. All right, guys, here is the fish and rice and the honey. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Pre-workout meal of the gods. Unbelievable, guys. Fish, rice, and honey. Oh, gonna absolutely fuck legs up. All right, guys, we have got our intra workout ready. Driven Nutrition's Novo Drive, Ash 20 at checkout to save yourself 20%. And we have our pre-workout here, which we're also going to do along a methylene blue Adopa Drive, SLU, 5 amino, and we will also have a yummy caffeinated energy drink on the way to the gym. So let's get this down and be on our way. Alrighty, it is that time. Legs. And before we do that, we're going to make sure that we are adequately stimulated. So what we have here is the XQS strawberry kiwi. Smells like strawberry kiwi, at least. Very strong. These are 8 milligrams, so let's give one of them a go. Ooh, very strawberry. And Bevo of choice, Kamikaze Apple Fizz. On camera taste test. Ah, burns your throat a little bit. Love it. All right, guys, let's get our ass over to Genesis and fuck some shit up. All right, time to lock the fuck in. Leg day, baby. Let's go. Alrighty, here we are again with another lower body day. You know how it is, starting off with the adductor machine, where we did a total of 2 sets, warmed everything up, made sure that nothing was going to go pop when it comes to our compound movements. So big thing with adductor is just making sure that you get a big stretch on the eccentric, open your hips right up, and then get a good contraction. When you pull your knees in together, squeeze hard. After 2 sets of that, we moved on to the seated hamstring curl. Now what you'll notice, guys, is that my routine is pretty much the same week in, week out when it comes to exercise selection. The reason for this is that we want to maintain the same movements throughout a mesocycle, because by seeing the progressions in load and seeing the progressions in the amount of reps that we're getting, it tells us and gives us feedback on whether or not what we're doing is giving us, 1, adequate stimulus, and 2, is actually allowing us to recover from session to session, which becomes very important, especially in prep when you're trying to maintain all your tissue. Then we moved into knee extensions. So I always start off with my first set in the 20 plus rep range, just because if I go too heavy on these, it does hurt my knees. So 2 sets on this one here. Little shameless plug here as well. Driven Nutrition's Novo Drive intra workout, Ash 20% off. Get yours. Here is the second set of quad extensions that we did. Quads looking nice and veiny and grainy and nutty. 4 weeks out almost, so I would hope so. I prefer to say 31 days out. It sounds like less to me. After 2 sets on quad extensions, we then moved into just 1 single set on the single leg Nitro Evo leg press. We only did 1 today just because I felt like I wanted to do an extra set of sissy squats today. So where you add somewhere else, you will generally need to take away from somewhere else, because we can't just add more volume, and all other variables remaining the same, expect to keep recovering. So after 1 set on each leg there, we moved into the big boy movement of the day, which was the hack squat. So nice narrow stance. Don't mind the grassy shoes. These are the shoes that I mowed the lawns in, which I should not have upon reflection. So this was a set of 19 reps, I believe, which is 1 rep up from last week. We then moved into the sissy squats, as I mentioned. We did 2 sets of these. I only filmed 1 set, but I really wanted to do 2 sets of these because I hadn't done a set of sissy squats in a few weeks. And I just want to make sure my quads are getting that big, deep stretch. Then we moved on to hamstrings again. 2 sets on the line hamstring curl. So hamstrings here, nice and dug out. Looking very crisp, very, very happy with the posterior. And on this one here, making sure that you're not quite extending the knee all the way at the bottom of the movement. You don't need to like straighten your leg fully at the bottom. But what I will say is you do want to make sure that you're trying to get your heels as close to your ass as possible for the full contraction. So after 2 sets on that, we rounded out hammies with the 45-degree hyper or the back extension or whatever you want to call it. And the goal here is good stretch to the hamstring, but not just that. We also want to make sure to get some glute as well. So we're really making sure to contract and squeeze the glutes and push our hips into the pad at the top of the movement. So 1 all that set on this, just body weight. We ended up doing about 30 reps, I believe. So big stretch, big squeeze, and really fried the hammies out. And that was the leg workout. So I will see you as I'm walking out the door. Alrighty, we have completed legs, finished off with 10 minutes of cardio. Time to get in the car and debrief. See you there. Alright, my people, don't laugh at me as I have to pull my elbow across to reach the seatbelt, but we have smashed legs, 31 days out, which means we have approximately what, probably like 8 leg days left, or 7 or 8. So very exciting. We filmed the leg session obviously, and as you will see that it was a fucking fantastic session. We either matched or progressed all lifts. My ankle is still fucked, but I can't really feel it while I'm training. It's more so when I'm like walking and things like that. So fuck it, we ball. Yeah, not a whole lot else to say about the leg session other than, like I said, it was a fucking absolute ripper. Plan now is to go home, eat post-workout meal, and chill out, client work for the rest of the day, which I am pumped for. We are also going to do another Q&A box tonight so that I have more questions to answer in tomorrow's vlog, hopefully, seeing as it is a rest day. But until then, I bid you all good day. Thank you for watching my vlog. Another Groundhog Day, another day in the life. I know personally as a bodybuilder, I like watching bodybuilders do the same shit every day anyway. So I hope all you guys do too, because this is as raw and as real and as honest as it gets. Bodybuilding isn't flashy. It's not like, you know, different shit every day. I don't go on extravagant adventures. I don't meet up with celebrities or anything. I'm just a regular dude from Albury who loves bodybuilding, who is an online coach, who loves to help people, who loves to give back, who loves to train, who loves all things fucking bodybuilding, baby. So love you all. Peace out, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.